Hey everybody, welcome to my video. It's been a couple of weeks since I posted up something, and that's because when you get to this point in a guitar build, everything just kind of slows down to a crawl. It's kind of like that last 10 or 15% takes about 50% of the time. But as you can see, this guitar is a lot shinier than last time you saw it, and that's because it has several coats of lacquer on it. It's been sitting for a few days. I got up this morning and kind of started rubbing this out with some compound. Now you can see I still don't have my pickup cavities routed out. It's because I still don't have my pickups, but they're on the way. They're en route. The guy put them in the mail toward the end of last week, and I'm excited to get those in a couple of days. I can get these cavities routed out and then hopefully begin to get some hardware on this thing. But I wanted to take a little while today and shoot a video and kind of talk to you about what I've done so far for this finish, kind of go through the process, the method to the madness, and maybe even talk a little philosophy behind the madness and share my opinion and my thoughts on some things. Again, it's just my opinions and thoughts. I'm no expert, but maybe some of you can get something out of it, or hey, just fight me in the comments and tell me I'm wrong. Let's have a discussion about it. So I'm going to put this down, go over to my couch, grab a couple other guitars, and talk about a couple of things, and then I'll get into what I've done on this finish so far. Now, I wanted to show you this. This is my Paul Reed Smith SE Custom 24. It's one of the earlier ones that was made when they were still made in South Korea. It's a mahogany back, maple neck, pretty thick maple cap, and a maple veneer. Beautiful, beautiful guitar, nearly flawless. It plays like $1,000,000. The fretwork is great. Fretboard feels good. Like I said, this is a nearly flawless guitar, but you know what? I can't get it to sound good for anything. I've had several sets of pickups in this guitar. This is actually a set of custom shop Seymour Duncans right here, and no matter what I do, all of the electronics have been changed. I've tried different string gauges, put a different nut on it, 3 different nuts. It just don't sound good. It doesn't inspire any kind of confidence when playing. It's just it's lifeless and dull. As beautiful as this guitar is, it has no soul and doesn't inspire any kind of inspiration. And I hate to say that. It's a shame. As beautiful as it is, as well put together as it is. And I've often wondered, why is that? But if you look close, this thing is just like it's got at least a millimeter thick coat of whatever finish they use, probably some type of polyester. It's plastic. It's just like it's gobbed in it. I mean, it's beautiful. Really, it looks deep. It looks like you could just reach into it, but it's like there's no resonance. It's just like a plastic coated piece of wood, and I don't think that does any good. I don't think that does any good for the sound, and I think that's mainly what the problem is with this guitar. And if it just wasn't for the the hassle of doing it, I'd strip it down and maybe put a different finish on it. But it's too pretty. I would never mess. That'd be a lot of work, and I'd never mess with it. But just out of curiosity, I would like to know for sure. So now I'm going to put this down and go grab another guitar that's kind of the polar opposite from this one. Okay, this is my Les Paul Tribute. It's this thing's like $1,149. It's the cheapest American-made Les Paul that you can get. Just like the other guitar, it's mahogany back, maple cap. This one actually has a maple neck, set neck, just like the Paul Reed Smith. 2 humbuckers, just like the Paul Reed Smith. Except this one has a satin nitro finish on it. And it's so thin, as a matter of fact, you can still see the wood grain all in the back, and some, actually pretty bad right there. And you could go, well, it's, Gibson's quality, but that's a topic for another video. But this guitar sounds like $1,000,000. This guitar sings. This guitar inspires confidence and inspiration when you play it. Makes you want to pick it up and play it. So, I mean, it resonates, it vibrates, it does all of the things right. And it's, like I said, the finish is different. It's a super thin nitro finish. And I'm not trying to, open a Pandora's box or this big discussion of, tone woods and this and that, everything else. But I think personally that the finish does make a big difference. Attention to detail and construction, like frets that are glued in, and whether you're going to wrap the thing in a big coat of plastic or not, I think makes a big difference. And so I've decided on my guitar that I'm building for the contest, I want it to be gloss finish, but I want it to be like a thin lacquer finish. And so I'm going to put this up. I'm going to go in here to my table and kind of go through my process I use to get the finish on that so far. Yeah, this is a cool guitar. I wouldn't be ashamed to go out and play this anywhere. It's great. Okay, so like I said earlier, I wanted to keep a real thin finish on that, but I also wanted to do a glossy lacquer finish on this build. And so what I did was I started out with a mixture of mineral spirits, boiled linseed oil, and a good quality polyurethane, all mixed together in thirds. And I'll get that there where you can see it. And so what this mixture does is it really makes the grain pop. Nothing to me, in my opinion, works better at getting grain to pop on wood than boiled linseed oil. And kind of tung oil is behind that, but definitely any kind of oil there. And so I made my mixture here. Got that going. Let's get that out of the way. And then I think you see in my previous video, if you watched it, you saw me kind of doing a flood coat here. I let it soak in for about 15 minutes, and then I wiped it off real good. And I went back about every half hour for the next couple of hours, and I wiped it off. Then I let it sit. The next day I come back and I wiped it off real good, and then I just let it sit for about 10 days. So then what I wanted to do was put a barrier coat of shellac on it, because you can't put lacquer right on top of the oil like that. It's not compatible. And so what I did was got some Everclear, some shellac flakes. Now, if you watch my last video, you know that I did have the debacle where I used the store-bought shellac, and it just kind of stayed tacky and never did get hard, but got that stripped off and went on to the good stuff here. And so I mixed up a jar of 1 pound and a jar of 2 pound, and I used that as a barrier coat and kind of like a sanding sealer too, a pore filler. And so that worked really good for that. I put on the 1 pound, which is a little bit thinner, kind of soaked in good into the pores, come back with a 2 pound. I put that on with just a foam brush. And then so that shellac doesn't take long at all to dry when it's fresh. And so I come back over that with some 400 grit sandpaper and kind of got all that level back down. Again, this is not a thick coat of it. And then, yeah, just, Minwax clear lacquer. I picked this up at a local hardware store, picked up about 4 cans, put several coats on it. It's literally probably about 10 thin coats on this. And what I did was I put on a coat, let it sit about an hour, put on another thin coat. I did that about 4 or 5 times, and then just let it sit overnight. And then the next day I kind of come back and hit it with some 600 grit sandpaper, scuffed it back up, and then basically did the same thing over again. Let it sit for a few days with the lacquer. And then I've been rubbing it out with some scratch remover and polishing compound after I kind of wet sanded it up to about a 2,000 grit. I started with 800, went up to 1,200, and then 2,000, and then come back with scratch remover and then with a polishing compound. And I'm up to just using the polishing compound now, and that's actually working out pretty good. It's not perfect. I mean, there's still a flaw here and there, and which is not in the lacquer, not to do with the lacquer or anything. It's just the preparation of the wood, what I missed. But you know what? It's a handmade instrument, and I may go back and try to fix it, or I may just leave well enough alone. I don't know. Probably will leave well enough alone, to be honest with you. And in the fretboard, this persimmon, what I did was mixed up an old school concoction of just beeswax and turpentine, and there's a little bit of boiled linseed oil in there, and you just kind of let all that melt together. Set this in some hot water, bowl of hot water, let it all melt together. And it makes it really is like a wax, like a darkening wax, and I've used that on the fretboard with just one of these applied with one of these. So just kind of dip in. It doesn't take much at all, and just go back and just buff, and that really left that fretboard looking nice. I'll get a close up of that here in just a second. So yeah, that's kind of my philosophy behind the, putting the finish on this. Just a coat of oil to pop the grain, barrier coat of shellac for, barrier coat and the sanding sealer, and just a thin coat of nitro lacquer on top of that, hand rubbed. I don't have any fancy spray equipment. I don't have a spray booth or anything like that. And so I'm real happy with the way this turned out, just using what I have and a rattle can. So maybe one of these days I might get a spray gun and learn how to do all of that. But this will do for now. So guys, if you like this video, hit the like button. That helps me out, helps YouTube know that, to promote the video. And I'm thinking about keeping the channel going even after this contest is over. So yeah, show you some of the other projects I'm working on that are guitar related. Like I said, I've got some other builds I'm working on. I've got a really cool piece of roasted flame maple in there that's going to be a neck, I think, for maybe a headless guitar. I've never built a headless guitar. Thinking about it. So I think I'll keep the channel going and show you what I'm doing there. But yeah, hit like, subscribe if you want to. Follow along the rest of this with me. Maybe the end of September, about the middle of October, plan on being finished with that and have the picture submitted to the GGBO. And yeah, look forward to seeing all the great builds everybody's got going on. There's a bunch of them out there. Go visit the GGBO website and find some of those awesome builds that other folks are doing. I appreciate your watching, and we will see you next video. Thanks.